So
Cool.
that's pretty much what I'm
Gonna,
doing for this.
cool. We're gonna play the
Um,
Ragequit song and everything too.
he
rage quit again! Rage quit! The beta just started! Beta! What you rage quitting for? Rage quit! He rage quit! Rage quit!
Please, somebody clip that. Somebody clip that. Please, somebody clip that. Somebody clip that.
Invincible VS is literally around the corner. We just had an open beta, and there are a lot of misconceptions, wrong statements about the gameplay from either casual fans, long-term fighting game vets, and more importantly, the Invincible fans who probably never touched a fighting game in their life.
What you rage quitting for?
So I decided to go on a journey. I decided to go deeper, you feel me, and go past what the game tells you. So I went out to find the lead combat designer of Invincible VS, John Batista. He has been in the gaming industry for over 20 plus years, and hear me out, walk with me here, worked on critically acclaimed Killer Instinct 2013. If you're really excited for Invincible VS and want to hear an actual developer tell everything dope about Invincible VS right now, this is the video for you. Make sure y'all hit the like button, sub up, etc. And also hype up this video if you can. It helps put the video in the algorithm and boosts the video for everybody to see. And keep your boy making content without having to throw money at me, you feel me? So that being said, let's get into it with the Invincible VS lead combat designer. Let's get it. So, what is up everybody? It's Avataryaya, back like I never left with some more Invincible VS. Y'all thought I wasn't gonna get y'all with another one before the game come out, don't worry. But listen, we got a special interview today for the Yaya's Corner, and we're gonna be interviewing Invincible VS combat designer, the lead one. So, you can introduce yourself, tell people who you are.
I'm Bao, lead combat designer over here at Quarter Up Games. Been in the industry for way too long now, like 26 years plus years. Some may know me from my work on Killer Instinct in 2013, as with a bunch of the folks on the team as well at Quarter Up. So we got some history, small team, small tight knit crew and everything too. So now we're here to tackle the tag fighter genre and see what we could do and add our own little twist to it if we can.
You know, it's funny enough because I originally bought, why you say that, I got an Xbox One because of Killer Instinct. I essentially wasn't going to get it, but I was like, let me get Killer Instinct. Because at that time, if I'm not mistaken, there was MK, but I needed something else to play on my Xbox. I was like, well, for me, I will buy a console for just one video game. I'll be honest with you, because I know I'm going to put so much time on it and play it anyway. So when KI came out, sadly, all of my homies didn't go to Xbox when it came out. So I was like, oh, well, dang, I'm just here. So
it was a struggle. That was a struggle.
Yeah, I know that was I could tell that was a struggle for y'all because everybody was like, why is this not on PlayStation? You know? And now, years later, seeing y'all reborn under Quarter Up and Skybound, such a beautiful thing to see that everybody is kind of like coming back together and reforming with a lot of y'all. I recognize a lot of people faces, especially from the reveal trailer and the deep dives. I'm like, I think I've seen this person before, you know? And I think that's interesting that y'all came together and decided to make a tag fighting game. So the question I want to ask, and this is one, if you don't want to answer it, don't worry. I'm going to edit it out and stuff like. So, I want to know the main question, because this is something I forgot to write on this list beforehand. This is probably a neutral one. But a lot of people, social media, they're like, why wasn't it a 1v1 game? Why did y'all decide to go with the tag fighter approach? The Marvel vs. Capcom, you know, the Dragon Ball fighters everybody references. Why did y'all potentially decide to go down that route?
So honestly, when we first started talking about the concept of an invincible tag fighter, like immediately what came to our mind wasn't necessarily like the 1v1 fights, but usually it's like the superhero team up. You know, it's usually like a crew of superheroes versus a crew of bad guys.
Right.
You know, it's like, yeah, you do have the 1v1s, you know, from time to time, stuff like that, but the big like crazy ass battles, like those are with the different teams. And so when we started going through that process, we're like, you know, what'd be sick is to make this a tag fighter. You know, because like we did the 1v1 with KI, but we're like, you know what? We could try some crazy shit with a tag fighter with these characters. So that first conversation, like just from there, like just blew up. We're just like, okay, this is the jam. Like, this is where we're going, with this IP and stuff. So we had so many ideas, and like it's one of those things where at that point, like it's blue sky. You're like, let's just see how far we can go. Tried a bunch of crazy ass ideas and stuff like that. A lot of it stuck, some of it didn't, and everything. But yeah, like honestly, like it started out, as a tag fighter, as a team versus team game.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting because I was thinking about that this morning because I was like looking at Reddit and seeing some people comments. I'm very big on comments because I'm like, even if I could think something's like not it, I also try to see where a person's coming from. And I'm binging Invincible. Like I literally got to episode 7 this morning, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, it just made sense to be a tag fighter. Every fight is like two people fighting one Viltrumite, or like a group of heroes fighting an invasion. It's like, it just made sense, And I'm happy you got to give out that reassurance that like it was in the decision from the jump. Because a lot of people are scared of, there's this inherent belief that with tag fighters, they're harder than just 1v1. And personally, I don't believe that because since Marvel vs. Capcom, I've been doing, like, why the tweet blew up anyway. If I don't know what to do, I've been doing it since the 90s. The light, medium, heavy into launcher always works. That's something in every tag game. It always works. From Invincible to 2X to Tokon, even. It just all works that way. It's just all fundamentally been the same. So I'm happy you got to give me that insight.
I mean, to be fair, like, to that point you mentioned, though, tag fighters are chaotic. Like, that's kind of one of their points. It's like, you want the chaos. Like that's the idea behind, like, oh, I can always call in an assist, and that's gonna just fuck up whatever that formula you were trying to, whatever your plans you were making. Like this assist is kind of come in and jam that up. Or, like with our active tag system, we're tagging it out all the time. Or snapbacks. Like there's so much going on at any given moment that it is pretty chaotic. But at the same time, it's part of the fun, it's like, it's in 1v1, it's like, it's a very clear back and forth. It's the ebb and flow. With the tag fighters, it's like, it's more 3D space, a lot more dynamic movement. There's so much more going on. It's like, we always call it like embracing the chaos. So we're just like, fuck it, let's go. Like,
that's how I'm here for.
Let's see how far we can go.
See, y'all get it. Y'all understand me. Like, that's me. I'm like, bro, tag games are chaotic, man. Once you learn it, you're going to have a ball. But, it is what it is. I'm happy that was a big thing that I wanted to ask about that. The next question I wanted to ask, just to get into the deep part of people want to know. We've already talked about Invincible versus being a 3v3 tag fighting game. But what do you believe from gameplay design? Like, what's the core identity so far? Like, how do you feel about people saying it's KI or something like that? What do you really feel about 2X from your eyes, your perspective?
So our design philosophy, and it's funny because we've heard a few people talk about this, and it definitely coincides with the stuff that we've been pushing, is we have a very open-ended, kind of like a sandbox approach where we're like, hey, here's the edges, here's the playground, the characters are the toys.
Right.
Like, put your toy box together, go out there and play, have fun. Like, it's all about freedom of expression. Like, it's all about, like, because that was one of the things that we've been huge proponents of for like the longest time. If you can actually ever play a game where you could tell who's playing by the way they move, like, that's a win. So it's like, if I'm watching a match and I could see like this person doing these crazy cancels, I'm like, holy shit, that's Sonic. Okay, cool, totally get it and stuff. Or like, oh, the way he's moving back and forth, okay, that's Justin. Right. It's like, it just, if you could tell the way the character is moving and what their combos are like and stuff like that, like, that's a win. And that's been kind of like the fundamentals of our system, where it's like, we established a series of systems to account for different types of interactions. We give the player, the tools that they need in order to interact with the opponent.
Right.
And we're just like, this is going to change. Like, there's a lot of potential for like what we call emergent gameplay, where it's like, yeah, if you're on the ground, you're doing this back and forth, it's going to be very straightforward. But the moment you go vertical, that's going to change. You know, it's like, you know, you're gonna have to adjust your timing. You're gonna have to change how and when you call in that assist and stuff. So it's like there's a lot of stuff where you're gonna have to learn, you know, different setups and everything, like depending on where the opponent's at, if they're close to the wall or the corner, you know, whatever. But it's like I said, it's a lot of emergent moments that it's like, fuck it, have fun, like just go nuts.
That's so lit because I feel like the player expression was very high in the beta, and that's a beautiful thing where everybody was doing different things with certain characters. But like I can differentiate myself how I was using Eve versus how Sonic would use Eve for someone else, right? Like I would start out with like my whole game plan early on was like, all right, I need to stop the big bulky armored characters. So I was like, how can I stop them?
Beast.
yeah. But I was like, let me stop Battle Beast. And Alan was kind of cooking me a little bit too. And I was like, all right, so let me play around this buzzsaw and then convert from it. Because people like to just dash forward like a lot. But then I fought another player that used it. The one other player I really saw use Eve against me. And he was just trying, he boosted to heavy. I was like, yo, wait. I was like, you can do that? And I was like, oh, he's playing a whole different Invincible Versus right now. I'm not even there yet. Like, I'm like, why is he doing this? But it makes it feel like everybody has their own style with a character. And I think that's one of the coolest things about the game, even though it's a tag game.
One thing I want to touch on that. One of the things that has been tripping me out, and I'm trying to get over it and try to figure out, is one of the people on our team actually plays a rushdown Cecil, and it freaks me out. I'm just like, whoa, like the way he combos and harasses like is sick. Because I play like a traditional zoner, like you know, I just lay mid out, you know, try to keep that space and then capitalize when I get the hit, you know, go in and convert and stuff like that. But like he just rushes down and he does like these crazy mix-ups because he'll throw in assists as well just to cover, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, because it's, especially with Cecil's teleport, like it gets really, really confusing at times. You're like, wait, stop it, you know. So it like you said, like there are people will play characters completely different in completely different ways, and it's really cool to see.
It's funny because everybody was like, why can't I play with Cecil in the beta versus like in the trade mode versus the beta? I was like, y'all not ready for him. Okay, they saving y'all from right now. A lot of y'all would quit more. I was telling people that I was like, y'all would have left earlier if you had to fight Cecil a lot. So
seriously, seriously.
the character itself is probably one of the fun characters. I just can't wait to get my hand on Duplicate. Y'all know what I'm repping. That's what I'm waiting on. Duplicate and Anissa, those are two. But I think
Kate is evil.
Yeah. Keep that in mind, y'all. I mean, the character is strong. I'm just saying, but
she hurts feelings. Like she.
Okay. See. You put the character for me. Thank you. I was like, yes, but I think the next question I want to ask is about more of an accessibility and keeping the gap between, you know, for new players and veterans. I was like, how do you make the game easy for new people to play, but still like tricky and exciting for people that know like all the moves, like FGC? And I know y'all touched about it a little bit, but how do you personally feel about that?
Well, honestly, one of the biggest things as far as our approach to accessibility has been, and we know it's a total hot topic, is the whole the easy access for moves, you know, for your buttons and special moves and all that stuff. Fighting the opponent, like attacking your opponent, that is the primary where you're interacting, you know, with everybody in the game. But like, for example, if you're playing a shooter, like the way you interact with your opponent is you're pulling the trigger and you're firing, you know, you're shooting your bullet at the opponent downrange and stuff. That's done with a single, you know, button press and stuff too. So we're trying to mitigate as many factors as possible to allow as many people, you know, to interact with the systems and the opponent, you know, and make that as smooth and streamlined as possible. That way, when they get to the next layer, you know, which is the actual interactions, it's the context, it's the timing, it's the spacing, it's actual neutral, you know. And then beyond that is when we start to get, you know, layer upon layer, you know, into the depth of stuff. And that's when we talk about like defensive mechanics and like how do you counter certain things, you know, in what situations do you use certain features and mechanics, like especially defensively and
Right.
stuff. So and this actually leads into the depth component, which is we always wanted to make sure that it's easy for everybody to just pick up the game, press buttons, and then have fun. Like make them feel like they're doing something without like struggling too much with it. Yeah, there's layers they're not going to be able to access right off the bat, but they should be able to just baseline get in there, punch some people, and feel like they're doing stuff.
Right.
None of it is optimized, and none of it is like, hey, look, if you're mashing the button, it doesn't mean anything until you're actually making connection with the opponent, and that's when it'll actually do the auto combo. So it's like if you're just mashing from neutral, it's not going to do the full string. You actually have to connect and keep going and stuff too. So, but that's like the baseline of baselines and stuff. Everything beyond that is contextual. It's like, the defensive mechanics, they're all specific to specific situations. Like we have the push block and heroic strikes are specifically while you're blocking. We have the assist breaker for when you're actually taking damage. That's your opportunity to disrupt the combos. And then we have the counter tags, which is very, very specific at the additional level when your opponent's calling in their active tags and stuff too. So it's like, that was our whole approach when we're putting our systems together. It's layer upon layer upon layer and stuff. And you don't need to interact with any of the higher layers right off the get. Like you could just jump in and play and have fun. But the moment you run into somebody that does have access to those higher layers, they're going to mess you up, and you'll be like, oh, what is that? What they just did this one move, like I'm just doing this block string and they just heroics, they did this armored move. Like, what is that? Oh, it's a heroic strike, stuff. It's just one of those things where it's like defensive mechanics usually takes the longest for people to really, really grasp. Yeah. Because it's like, it's very contextual. You're like, I have to do it in a specific context in order for it to be effective. Yeah. Meanwhile, like the offensive stuff, you're like, I'm just pressing buttons and stuff's happening. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I think that's very important that you bring that up, because in the beta, like, because at one point I was like, all right, they reset the ladder, and I was like, I just wanted the screenshot because I had to do like 30 different things that weekend. So I was like, dang, I could probably grind at the top 20, but I just wanted to see myself on there for a little bit. Then y'all reset it because y'all were working on it and stuff like that. And I was there for a bit. And I was excited, but then as I was playing in the stream, I started seeing like the skill level vary, right? And I think that was beautiful for me, because a lot of people, mind you, that was probably one of the biggest streams I've ever had for this game, Invincible VS. And the chat was like, yo, like complaining, and then I'm fighting a person on the stream that's like always rage quitting or ready to leave. Then I start getting to the tiers of like the Diaphone and Justin's, and then people are like, I'm like, wait, he blocked? Hold on, wait. Then my brain is constantly like rewiring how I have to play. And I think that was beautiful for me, because when I feel challenged, that is when I feel most entertained at that point, right? And I think that was beautiful that y'all already had that in place in the matchmaking system of the game, at least from the beta, because you could tell the degreeing levels of like, once you got to like that AKLP, I was like, all right, now everybody is locking in a little bit, and I think that's beautiful that today y'all even released a pro video, like a breakdown of the gameplay. And a lot of people didn't know that you could do like, I guess, reverse beat like buttons, like it was like 2M, 5M, 2M, 5M. And people were like, what? You could do that? I'm like, yeah, I was doing that with Eve. I was trying to figure out, like, in the beta, I didn't get this. Because in the beta, everybody found about like Mark and Alan with the bounce combos. And I was like, but Eve can't do that. At least I don't know how to do it yet. So, yeah, but I was doing what y'all showed in today's video for most of the beta, and I was like, the game is so expansive because it doesn't feel like I figured it out, and I feel like that's good game design. Well, like, you teach me pretty much everything, but there's a whole other bunch of layers to go, and I think that's beautiful. From as a person that just wants to pick up and hit buttons some days, and days I want to look at frame data and sweat, I think that's where Invincible VS hits that beautiful middle ground for me personally.
Well, that's the thing too, though, is we specifically set out to make sure that not everybody had the same tools like available to them. Like not everybody can do a crumple. Like not everybody can do, ground bounces or, wall splats or wall bounces. Everybody has their own capabilities, and that's that's kind of one of the coolest things about having a tag fighter. Like our EP executive producer, Mike Willett, always talks about your characters are the tools in your toolbox, and it's up to you to decide what kind of toolbox you want to put together and stuff. So what's your game plan? Like, how do you want to lead? How do you want to like build meter? Who do you want to as your anchor and stuff too? Because anchors make are a huge part of this, our formula too. Because once you get a sudden death, like, what you're gonna have in sudden death, you need that strong character that can clutch it out at the end and stuff too. So,
oh man, that's interesting because I was thinking about it's like, the sudden death. I love it because I grew up with Smash Bros. Right? So for me, I like it because if I think about it in terms of Invincible, I love it simply because Invincible fights don't just end most of the time with like somebody gets away, somebody dying. Okay, that's just how it is in Invincible. But in Smash Bros, it was always hype when I ever got it because I was like, wait a minute, y'all equally match, and then it gets all serious, and y'all captured that perfectly. And I think that's a mechanic that like a lot of people will have to adjust to, love or hate, whatever. But I do think it's very interesting to see, like, fight it out till you lose. But when I was playing the beta, my thing was, and I had this stuck in from like a previous one. I was like, wait, I think robots kind of cracked, and then y'all gave him hidden missiles. I'm not gonna play him because I'm a Doctor Doom. So I was like, literally, if he's in my sudden death, I got him because I can zone you out. Like, I'd rather just play that game and make you mess up. You got to get to me to beat me in the sudden death if you really want it. So that's kind of hype that y'all also acknowledge that too. That kind of makes my day.
That's a foot dive too, dude.
Yeah, the foot dive. Yeah, all that. I was like, okay, they locked in. I was like, robot. Yeah, I was like, yeah, robot's one of them ones, man. The next question I want to ask. And this is kind of a hot take coming from you, if not. But I was like, what is something you feel like a lot of people misunderstand about Invincible versus combat? Like, what is one thing you feel like is kind of like shaky to people or they're not understanding, like
straight up, I think the biggest misconception people have is what they thought was a straight up TOD. Like,
yes.
But what they're talking about, like the situations that people kept describing, or like people would just put together these combo videos, all they were doing was doing a combo, active tagging to the next character, doing, continue the combo, active tag to the next character, and they just rinse and repeat. And people are saying, like, what is this? Like, that's just a straight up TOD. It's like the easiest brain dead. But they didn't realize every time you active tag is an opportunity for the opponent to break it.
Yes.
Like, it's not free. It is not free. Like, it's and it's one of those things that, like I said, like as we were putting these systems together, the two-way interaction was one of those key components that we wanted to bring over from KI. So it's, even if you're taking hits, or you're on the back foot, like defending and stuff like that, we wanted you to be paying attention, because it's like, some of the previous tag fighters, it's like, if you get touched, you're like, okay, I'm watching a combo video for however long it takes for them to, either kill this character or they might potentially drop. But that's the only thing you're paying attention to. But it's like, we wanted to make sure that you're still locked in, like you're still engaged. Yeah. You still have opportunities to disrupt whatever they're doing and stuff. And we like I said, we included that in different levels. We have the assist breaker for, hey, I want to spend some resources to break out of this, and potentially get that back, recoup the losses by tagging out and stuff too. But, I always have the counter tag available to me because even if I'm down to my last character, I still have the chance to break up their combo if they lean on that active tag a little bit too much and stuff too. So, but that has been like one of the biggest things the biggest misconceptions we've seen is people are like, oh, it's a TD. We're like,
yeah.
Technically, yeah, but you could break it. Like, right. At any point, anytime they active tag.
Yeah. It's funny because I had a lot of my close friends was like, yo, I found a TLD, and I would watch the TLD on stream. I was like, that's cool and all, but like, I'm just going to break it. He's like, why? And then I found literally the next ranked game, I found him on ranked, and he kept trying to do that to me. I was like, no, you're not getting past that first layer of tag. So he was like, oh, He's like, wait, this game's kind of sick. I have to make you guess. I gotta work for. I was like, yeah, you got to work for. I'm not gonna let you kill my robot. I need my stop this. Like, that's my goat. It's a whole emote now in my street. Like, stop this. Like that is like the coolest thing to me right now. So it's interesting because a lot of people feel like when they don't understand something, they like, yo, it's just TOD the game, and that's not truth of it is. You know, tag fighters have so many different reputations with buzzwords and stuff like that. So seeing people actually, and you guys also break those misconceptions with the KI element of things was really dope and interesting to me all across the board, because a lot of people thought everything was unbreakable, and I'm like, no, they give you a lot of options and a lot of defensive options in the tag game, you know. I think that's important. You fighting 3 characters, defense mechanics are needed, you know, especially in that type of thing, because the game is chaos, but can you defend against the chaos? And not making that side a good thing, it would take you out. The next question is one that's interesting, and I know it could be gray area. So again, have you tried, if out of every other fighting game, was there any mechanic specifically that you tried to like potentially incorporate into Invincible Versus, like in development, that you thought about, or you just already had the like skeleton of KI on your mind and building a tag game from what you already know?
Well, the KI elements were one of those things that we couldn't properly implement those until we had the foundation first. Because tag fighters are very specific, because they're all about like, you know, I'm trying to do as many hits as possible. So the thing is we wanted to make sure that it's like, you know, in KI, you could break at any point, you know, during a combo, like during the doubles or, you know, during there's so many different, you know, opportunities and such. But that's too much for like a tag fighter, you know, because otherwise people would be breaking all the time. Yeah. You know, so we had to figure out how to pace that out. So the KI stuff came in a little bit later. As far as mechanics that didn't quite make it, well, there was a few actually. So Boost started out as a completely different system. It wasn't completely different, a little bit too much. When we originally started working on Boost, the idea of Boost was it was almost like a mode that you could trigger where you basically amped up. Like, but that was for everything. Like your movement, your jumps, your dashes, like even your normals. We had boosted normals. You know, so it was one of those things where it's like every character had something nuanced associated with that. So it's like with Eve, she was using constructs when she was doing her normals. You know, with Mark, because he was a rushdown character, he added more forward movement. You know, so he was actually, you know, pushing in a lot quicker. He had a lot more range. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, but the thing we ran into was it was really, really difficult to tell the difference between like the normals at different levels and, you know, like their potential impact and stuff like that. So that's when we started focusing more in on having the boosted moments be a little bit more impactful. So that's where we landed on the boosted dashes, you know, boosted specials, and the rest of the utility with like defensive mechanics and such. So
that'd have been crazy, but like I'm happy because I feel like Omni-Man would have been cooking me in boosted mode, because what it sounded like to me, but from what you described, it reminds me somewhat similar of like, I guess MK versus DC's Rage. That's the color. The color just sticks out to me, like the way y'all did it, and I was like, "Oh, that'd have been kind of insane." So I'm happy y'all did a route with Boost to where you're like, "Hey, you could do more damage, but do you want to risk not having assist break meter?" You know, and I think that's a beautiful trade off where like risk and reward, or do you value more defensive things or other things of that nature? So that already makes it beautiful in my eyes personally. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what I wanted to ask. The other one was the Viltrumite question. I don't know if you want to answer that one or not. It's up to you. Or
yeah, we can talk about them.
Okay, so here's the thing. A lot of people feel like with Invincible Versus, yeah, it's mad Viltrumites in the game. Okay,
there's a few.
Yeah, so a lot of people are like, yo, why they pick all Viltrumites instead of the characters? Now, again, I'm not trying to pry out future characters or who not coming, who got scrapped. I don't want all of that. But I liked how you guys in Invincible Versus made sure every Viltrumite played differently. I think that's something very important to me because at first I'm the type of person that's like, I come from Injustice NRS games personally. I'm gonna pick Superman. Whoever Superman, I'm playing them, so it didn't matter to me. I liked it anyway. Everyone else not so much. So when it came to Viltrumites, what was one of the key things you want to flesh out of characters? Like, let's say for example, a huge difference between like Mark and Omni-Man. Like, what was the decision making there? Was it just looking at moves from the comic or game series, or just other things, iterations that influence that?
Character design, especially with an existing IP, is all about going back to source material.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding as much as you can about the characters, like personalities, like, tendencies, like, what kind of martial arts background do they have, or like, do they get pissed off when XYZ happens, or whatever, just any sort of potential information that you can use to lean into, is going to go a long way. And then we had the benefit of actually having not only a bunch of comics, like, the huge comic run that Invincibles has, but also the show.
Yeah.
In each one of those, we call them like a beats. Like we're looking for big impactful moments that take place that we can leverage as potential for like a moveset. And one of the things that we do, like as we're looking at the characters, we look at their silhouette, like how big they are, like if they're known for being a fast character, or are they just known for being big and bulky or whatever, and then we try to capitalize on whatever those aspects are. And as we're doing that, we tend to assign like an archetype to them, so it's like, for example, when we were talking about Mark and Omni-Man, like they're kind of like the front runners to the show, like, he's on the title card, and stuff. So it's like, and typically when you have that type of character, they tend to be balanced. So you get the Ryu and the Ken, and stuff like that. Characters that could do a little bit of everything, but aren't necessarily, masters at one specific thing. And we went that approach with both Invincible and Omni-Man. But one of the things that we wanted to do was, for our characters, we have the primary archetype, and then we have a secondary archetype, and that allowed us to have like whatever fundamental, like, baseline for the character that is familiar. So you're like, oh yeah, it's a balanced character. Okay, cool. So I know he's going to have this, this, and this. But then the secondary archetype allows us to add an additional layer of like flavor or like nuance. And so, for example, Invincible, he's a balanced archetype with a rush down secondary. So because of the way he fought in the show, like one of the first moves you ever see him use in a fight is something that he called the Invincible Punch. And you see that in this comic.
Yeah.
And he actually uses it in his first fight against Kill Cannon. He just does this lunging punch, the big old just wall. And as soon as we saw that, we're like, that's a move. And stuff. So it's like, cool. And like, and then we got to Omni-Man, and we're like, okay, he's another balanced style character because he's going to be like somebody that a bunch of people uses. So we need to make sure that he's, fairly like easy, to pick up and just play and stuff too. But his primary archetype was balanced and his secondary was powered. So that's why he's got some of these big, just like beach ass, just moves. Like, he's got his special thing where he's coming in with that overhead and he's just pounding into the ground and stuff too. So it's just like, it gives us a lot of flexibility with how we want to approach our characters. And thankfully, like, this approach has helped because it's like people, always complain about like all these characters fly and they punch. We're like, yeah, but like it's up to us to be creative and extrapolate, and flesh out what that means in actual gameplay. And it's the things that we've been seeing is like the people that have complained about the movesets were like, no, we get it. Like we get the concerns, but watch and then play it. Like if you get a chance, like that was one of the things that we were super stoked about was a lot of people that played the beta said, "Oh, I thought all these characters were going to play the same." That is not the case, and it's like they got to see it's like every character plays very, very differently and such too. So that was, yeah, it was cool to see a lot of people kind of change their opinions on that stuff.
Yeah, I think that was very interesting because obviously Thula was very different from Omni-Man, and then having like a lot of the big body characters, even from like Battle Beast to Monster Girl, like you would think like they would be the similar archetype, but everybody has like a baseline and then they deviate, right? It's like anime, or like I like to use the comparison with, this is so weeby, but like Naruto, like everybody has chakra, but everybody uses it differently, So
exactly.
I think that was really interesting about Invincible Verse, and I'm happy that you said that, because I was like, yo, if you play this game, y'all know a lot of characters play completely different from what you may have seen in the show. You probably watch the animation sometime and be like, hey, all they do is punching and throwing each other. But it's way deeper than that in the game as well, in my honest opinion. Even then, every character, even in the animation, has its own specific like thing they're doing in the fight. So that was pretty much what I want to ask. I'm so happy that I got to have you on Combat Design. I've been wanting to do something like this for years now. But a lot of them are Japanese. I can't speak it, so a lot of the content I usually cover with that. So that being said, y'all, and shout out to just call me Blue, but that's what I've been saying on accident. But shout out to the Invincible versus League Combat Designer for coming on today. Make sure y'all go support Invincible Versus this April 30th on all platforms outside, I think, Switch right now. But yeah, that is all. You got any last words to say or anything else you want to bring up?
Honestly, like one of the things I did want to touch base on was we did want to thank everybody that got a chance to come in and try out the beta, like for real, because it was so much information, and it was super important, like for us to get like that last push, that got us, all this information and stuff to action on, and get us that much closer to like a solid, like awesome product. Because honestly, like the game that we're shipping it's so much different from what everybody played on the beta and stuff too. Like it is. Yeah, I think Rip was talking about it on another stream too and stuff too. But it is almost night and day. Like there's so many updates and tweaks and stuff too. So we're really looking forward to everybody getting a chance to check it out. But thanks again to everybody who got a chance to play it. Gave us all the feedback, and yeah, we appreciate y'all.
Yep, and remember, y'all better lock in for Invincible Versus. It will be lit. I'm out. Peace.
And I swear I never felt